Hello, Yvonne Gebauer here with my therapy room, and I'm going to do week 6 of Karen Burchell's Try It Tuesday for her Facebook group, All Things Mixed Media Creative Kitty. So the prompts for week 6 are to use coffee or tea stained paper. So I've got my little jar of coffee here. Use a doily. So I've got all of my doilies. I don't know what size I will use just yet. Use jelly print or washi tape border. So I actually grabbed a few rolls of my washi tape because I've got a ton of them. Vintage theme. So that's why I grabbed these, simply because it's more of a vintage look. Use the plastic wrap technique. So I've got a piece of plastic wrap here. Excuse me, and add squares. So I've got some Graphic 45 A Lady's Diary paper. So I'm going to use this, I think, in my card, or to make my card. So I've got a couple of ideas here, and I think I'm going to do it on a piece of my craft paper cardstock. I'm going to do a card today. So yes, and add squares. So I'll figure out somehow to put squares into this before the card is done. But in the meantime, I'm going to decide what size card I'm going to do, and then I will be right back. So what I've decided to do first of all is I'm going to use this image, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut out the second one from the second piece of paper, and I'm going to adhere her on top to add some dimension to the card. Now what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to tear. I'm not going to cut, and you can get pretty precise just with your fingernail and running your finger along the underside. Now a little tip when you're tearing, if you don't want to see this white border, so that tear away from your image, okay? Because if you tear, I'm just going to go a little bit further here. If you tear the other way, and I'll see if I can maybe zoom in and show you. So this is tearing away, and you get that nice clean edge, right? If you tear towards you, you're going to get that white strip. So depending on the look you're going for, sometimes I'll do it with the white strip facing up because that's the look I'm going for. I might want to roll this up, or I might want to distress it a different color with some of my distress inks. There's lots of different reasons why you'd do it either way. But for this particular card, I think I want to do it so that I don't have that white edge sticking up. So I'm just going to continue to rip along, and your paper will always tear better one way than it will the other because your fibers go, much like material, they have a grain to them, I guess, if you want to call it that. So yeah, it will always rip better one way than the other. So I'm just going to continue. So I'll get this ripped out and I'll get this fussy cut out, and then I'll come back. So what I kind of do when I'm trying to decide how big I want my card, sometimes I'll get my embellishments to match the size of the card. With this particular one, I think I have to get my card to match my embellishments. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to frame this card like this on the background. I'm going to put half of this over here, and I want my fold of my card to be right along here. So I want my fold of my card to be the same width apart as what I've got this. So let me just zoom in here a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You see how I kind of have this centered around this edge of the card? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure over. This is about 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to probably make my card 4 to 4.5. I don't know if I want it any bigger than that, so probably 4. So if I want it 4 inches wide, I'm going to have to cut it at 8 so I can do my fold, right? So I'll probably do it at about 4 1/8 just to give myself some wiggle room. And then as far as length goes, I want to be able to put a sentiment at the bottom of this. And so what I might do is leave this whole length of the card. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut it my 8 inches, well, probably 8 1/4, 8 1/8, something like that. Fold it, and then kind of take a look from there what I want to do. So I'm just going to bring my paper cutter in. So I'm going to go to my 8 inches here. This I keep because I can make a tag out of it, or I can use it for sentiments. I can use it for a lot of different things. Now you can grab a scoreboard if you've got one. I've got one. To be quite honest with you, I hardly ever bother with it. I simply put one finger on that corner, bring this one to the center, and come down. Now you'll see where it's kind of all wrinkled on the edge where I folded it. A bone folder will take care of that. If you don't have a bone folder, use an edge of a credit card, use the edge of a ruler, whatever you've got. So there I've got my nice crisp fold, okay? I like a crisp fold. If you do use, and here's a little tip for you, if you do use a scoreboard, you know how you have your peaks and your valleys, right? Always fold towards the peak, and you're going to get a nicer fold when you use a scoreboard. Just a little tip that I had learned a long, long time ago. So I'm just going to start placing this stuff on here and just see. Now what I did, of course, was cut up my little girl there, right? So I will pop dot her on, but then I also did the flower. So I will also pop dot that up and leave these leaves hang over the edge a little bit. This doily I'm going to bring in right about there. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a fold so I can get that out of my way so I kind of know where to cut it. Just like that. So there's my doily. As far as my, okay, however she went on. Like that, I guess. As far as my border now, I guess I have to decide what I want to do there. I'm going to adhere this down. Now you can use your glue runners, you can use whatever you want to use. I'm just going to grab my Stampin' Up! Glue runner. I think that'll be the easiest and the quickest. Oh, hang on, I always do that upside down every time I use this silly thing. For whatever reason, I hold it upside down. Now, I always come in a little bit whenever I am. That way, if I want to curl the edges up, if I want to distress the edges any more than I've got them, I can do that. Now, actually, before I glue that down, I think that I'm going to take my, vintage, sorry about that, I should have had it out. My vintage photo, one of my favorite distress inks, and yes, I have all of my little foam pieces marked. Now you can do this a couple of different ways. You can use a makeup sponge, you can use a finger dauber, or you can use the foam. Pretty much all three will give you the same effect. This one, you can just do it faster, okay? To get in there. I'm going to zoom in a bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to bring my, because I already glued this down, right? If you use your, let's take this back up again. If you're going to use your makeup sponge, you're just going to take it and do much the same thing and just kind of flick it off the edge, but you're going to get, you can come in with a circular motion there as well, okay? But I kind of like the way that this is kind of folding up as I go, and same with the finger dauber. You can do the same thing. So you can come and kind of do a circular motion there. So you could probably even do that with this stuck down on your page and come in with your finger dauber. Yeah, you can. Or your, makeup sponge, same thing, right? And you're still going to get the, I'm just going to do it with this because it's quicker. And actually what I want to do, before I even get that far, is I'm just going to take my nail and rub it along the edges. Because I want this to be very distressed, like this piece of paper has been stuck to this card for a while. So I'm just going to bring up the edges, and all I'm doing is just rubbing my nail along my craft mat, and it's just curling the edges up. I don't know if you can see that. You'll see it better when I go to do my, use my thumb this way. Alrighty, so take my, and what it's going to do, and I don't care that it keeps rolling up. Oops, get rid of this. It can roll up as much as it wants because I want that distressed look. Not quite that much. And you can see how the very outside edge is getting just slightly darker. There. Oh, I like that. Yeah, like that very much. So there we go. Okay, let me get my lid back on that so it doesn't dry out while I finish filming. Get all these things out of the way. Pick this up. And because I've kind of stuck that down and picked it up and stuck it down and picked it up, I'm just going to do another layer of tape over on top of that. Just in case it's picked up any yuckies from my craft mat. And yes, if I'm going to use tape, I tend to go overboard. Alrighty, so I'm just going to center this so that I've got approximately a 1/4 inch around all 4 sides. Or 3 sides, I guess, because the 4th side I'm going to be doing something different down there. So there, so this is going to be sticking up, and I love that. Love it, love it, love it. Now, so I just used my Mod Podge. And I'm just gluing my doily down. It's pretty hard to use a tape runner, I find, to put something down like a doily. So there's my cards so far. I'm just going to give this a quick heat set and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm just going to grab my 3D foam squares. You can call them whatever. I've got some thin ones. And I've got some thicker ones. I guess I've got them in the wrong. These things are mixed up. But anyways, I don't want this to stick up a whole lot, so I'm going to use my thinner ones. And I'm probably going to use a combination of these bigger ones. And you just want to put a few down. You don't need to, although sometimes I do get a little carried away with my foam dots. And then I'll put a couple of little ones up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this one in half. Oops. And put one up there. There we go. Alrighty, I can put those away after. Now I still have to do my saran wrap technique, and I have not forgot about that. I have an idea. So don't panic. And I have an idea for my squares. Okay, now these things like to stick to me. Especially with this craft mat, I end up with static all over the place. Oh, yikes, yeah. Okay, let's get rid of these things so they don't keep sticking to my fingers. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to center her back over top of herself. There we go. And you may not be able to see that on camera, but it just gives her such a nice layer of dimension on the card now. You probably won't be able to really pick it up, but trust me, it looks pretty cool. And then same for the back of the flower. So I'm just going to, oopsie, took the back off of that already. Put a couple of these back here. And then a couple of little half ones on these leaves that are sticking down. Alrighty, now see if I can figure out how this goes again. Oops. So again, just center it over top of that flower and down she goes. There, I love how that looks. I really like that. And I want to use my gel medium for my saran wrap technique, because what I want to do is I want to do that for my sentiment little block that I'm going to put down here. Okay, so I've got some Vintage Photo re-inker, so I'm going to add just a little bit to that, because I don't want to water it down too much, and I don't want it just too dark. That's kind of what I want to use. Ooh, I added That's what I said I didn't want to do, add it too much. But I think, you know, I think this is still going to be okay because it's not going to be all over. Okay, no, this will be okay, I think. I think I'm going to brush it on as thick as I can. Now I'm not going to need this whole piece, I realize. Oopsie, sorry, I was kind of out of frame, but I think you kind of got the idea anyways. All I'm doing is brushing it on. Just to give it that coat, right? Okay, I'm going to get this into my water. I'm going to put this in my water just so I don't. And I'm going to grab I grabbed a pretty big piece of Saran Wrap, but I don't have any Saran Wrap down here, so this was it. And I'm going to put it on there and just squish it up. Now this is going to have to dry, and I'm really kind of hoping it does what I'm wanting it to do. If not, we'll have to come up with plan B. Okay, so it kind of sort of did what I wanted, so I'm going to see if I can get this to work. If not, we'll come up with plan B or C or whatever. And then I took my washi tape and I actually took my vintage photo and made it the same color as the rest of the card. So again, what I'm going to do with this just yet, I haven't exactly decided. And I might even just run a strip around the very outside edge of this. Let me just actually see what that looks like. If I do just a strip. Okay, now I'm going to cut that. Now I don't really mind that, except that it's not quite the same all the way down. So I would anyways move this over just a tad. Actually, what I'll probably do is mark it with my pencil just inside. I think that's what I'll do. And I'm going to do just a thin little border line here. And I'm eyeballing it, I realize that, but that's okay. This will just give me an idea of a couple of things, where to put my Mod Podge and my straight edge, right? So I don't know if you can see, probably not, but I just put a little, oh yeah, you can, pencil line right along there. My battery light is flashing again. Go figure, what a surprise, right? Anybody that's been following me for a while knows that I struggle with that battery on this thing all the time. So I am simply putting a layer of Mod Podge on that baby. I'm going to grab this piece of tape back and I'm going to adhere it down along that edge that I drew out, so I know exactly where my line is. Actually, I quite like that. Let me just zoom out a little bit again here so you can kind of see what I'm up to. And I'm thinking I might just do this to the outside edge. Okay, so I did decide to go all the way around my card. I just missed where the doily was. But now what I'm doing, because again, I'm about the distressing. So I am taking I've got a distressing tool. You can take a pair of scissors, the same thing works. And I'm just distressing up the edges of the card. And it's not really going through the washi tape, but I think I'm okay with that because I think when I come back in with my vintage photo, it'll still give me the effect I want on the edge, and technically I still have washi tape on there, so I'm not distressing it off. And then come back over this with my vintage photo just to get the edges. I'm not even going to bother underneath that flower because no one's going to see it anyways. Oh. And yet what it's doing is it's just kind of darkening up those edges, which is what I wanted it to do with the distress tool. And then that kind of ties this now into the rest of the card, because before it really wasn't, I didn't think, tying it in. Okay, so I've kind of come back to this piece that I did with the, and I have an idea and I'm hoping it works. What I want to do is I want to take my StazOn and I'm going to actually try to stamp directly on there, which could be a little bit of a challenge. Now, when you're stamping, and here's the thing here, I do this all the time. I always take stamp pad to stamp instead of the other way around, but before I actually stamp it on my project, I will make sure I wipe the ink off of any edges because I don't want those little lines that you get when you stamp. So here goes. I'm going to push quite hard because I want it to get, and if it doesn't go into all the little crevices, I can always take my black pen and go over top and fill it in. So I'm really not too concerned. Okay, here's the moment of truth. So yes, it will work. I'm going to zoom it in here just so you can see. I'm going to have to go over it with my pen, and that's fine, just to darken it up. So I'm just going to take my my Permaball black pen, because it writes over top of pretty much anything, and that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to come over top of it so you can see where it's already starting to. And I'm just going to right over top. Now, I'm not going to make you watch me do this, so I am going to shut this off while I finish, and then I will be right back. Okay, so you know how you can get pop dots? You can also get glue dots. Pick these up at the dollar store for $5, and what they are is little teeny gobs of glue. I don't know if you can see them on there or not. Probably not. Maybe you can. But they're just little wee dots of glue. So what I'm going to do, and I might need a couple of them, so I'm just going to push, and you can get them in all different sizes. These are little mini ones. So I'm going to push that sucker on top of there. Hopefully it picked it up, which it did. I'm going to grab another one just so I make sure I've got enough. And I am going to put these in the corner of this as if I held it down with these little square brads. Gotta love this camera. Anyways, so there we go. My vintage Try It Tuesday card. Just like that. I quite like it. I'm happy with how it turned out. So there you go. So there. Thank you once again for coming along on my little journey. Be sure to link your projects to Karen's album that she'll have up. Make sure you subscribe if you want to get updates of any future cards or art journal pages or techniques that you would like to see. Give me a thumbs up, share it if you think this is something somebody else would like to do. And yeah. Thank you very much for coming along. I appreciate it. Leave me a comment, suggestions of other videos you'd like me to do, and I'd be happy to do that. Thank you. Bye-bye.